I've only got one game to talk about that I've been playing this week, unless anyone else wants to spring something on me that they've been playing and they want to talk about. I streamed the other day. I streamed about 90 minutes of this game called Kicking Heads. Oh no, sorry, I was reading the title of my article. It's called Fights in Tight Spaces. Anyway, in my article, I posted up an article linked to my video because I cut out the video from the stream. Anyway, it's called Fights in Tight Spaces. We talked about it some stage last year. One of those 1,000,001 indie events that happened last year. It's pretty cool. It's quite involved, a lot more involved than I originally actually thought it was going to be completely honest. But the core concept for the game is it is a card. Yeah, the ones that Kieran complains about all the time. But it is a card game thing. What do they call these actual genres? Card roguelike, whatever they call them.
Yeah, I think so.
Something along those lines. Where you basically you start in a room. They're all small rooms, obviously, given the name of the game. And you have different sorts of decks you can unlock throughout the game. And you basically have mana cost or a mana equivalent to which the amount of cards that you can play each turn. Each card has a cost, and sometimes they have extra costs, like you need a certain combo meter or you need to be a certain amount of spaces away or close to enemies to be able to initiate the either the attacks, the blocks, to use the counter cards. And then you've got to also take into account what your enemies are doing. And a lot of what the enemies are doing reminded me a lot of John Wick Hex, which was a Bithell game that I reviewed last year, I think it was. Yeah, a year ago. In that it has a whole system where, like, so enemies in the room, you can kind of see which ones will be attacking who and what's going to be happening, and their actions always take place so that you can look at the game and you can actually force enemies to hit each other or attack one another. So if you see someone's going to shoot in a certain direction and you can manage to throw an enemy into the line where the enemy is about to fire a bullet, you can actually set it up so they'll shoot one another or hit one another or these sorts of things. So there's definitely a lot of. I think if you look at a screenshot, you could be like, "How's this so complicated?" But then once you actually get into it, and you have to start taking into account what each character, each enemy in the room could be doing, the amount of health and action moves, and like, do you want to block? Do you want to counter? Do you want to use a card that lets you just run away and kind of take a move to think about it? I literally lost the game because I made one very simple mistake at one point. I moved my character in the wrong direction, and there's no way to undo that move, and it completely fucked me, and I died because of that. So I was like, wow, it's a hard lesson to learn, but here we are. And it is quite hard. I got 2 runs up to the exact same position. I died in the time that I was streaming. And I guess the other thing I didn't know going into the game that makes it quite hard is it does have that roguelite element where that I think there's 5 levels or 5 worlds or whatever you want to call it in the game, and each one has a run. So it's like you go this level, this level, this level. And the thing I didn't realize at first that you got to take into account is that any health you lose, you don't regain your health before you go to the next level. Like, your health always stays down. So you got to think about that. However, periodically throughout the run, you can choose between things. It'll be like, do you want to go to this hospital and regain health along your run, or do you want to stop and go to this gym, and you can use the gym to use money you've gained on that run to upgrade cards, buy new cards to put into your deck for that run, and this sort of stuff. It is an early access. This is an early access release, so of course there's going to be changes and stuff like that made before the full release, but it's pretty well put together as far as early releases go for the time I've put into it so far, and I was definitely enjoying it. I was just like, fuck, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. At first, to be completely honest. My one big criticism I'll say, though, is I think it's the environments, because it's got this whole, whatever you want to call it, like the stylize of it is, it's everything's very bland apart from yourself and the characters in the room. And I think that would just make the game very, very boring after a certain amount of hours, like looking at that very minimalist, nothing design of the game. It's kind of cool at first, but I'm like, this just, especially when, even on my second run, I'm like, okay, I'm just entering the exact same bar. The bar hasn't changed, there's nothing to keep it sort of fresh. Whereas if you think about Hades, another roguelike we played last year, it's like you would enter the world and there's certain there's certain things about the biomes within Hades that make the biomes seem the same, but they would always sort of change, and the enemy positions would change. It's like the art style stays the same or whatever, but there's always things to keep it fresh and exciting each run.
I had the stream on my second stream while I was doing something else throughout the night, and every time I looked over, it did not seem like you were either getting much progression or you seemed like you were in like kind of the same area for most of it, where I was like, I don't think you had changed. Right. You had changed levels at some points, but even then, I was like, this game just feels a bit bland, kind of in terms of its environments, which it would be because it's all wide.
Yeah,
but
it definitely. That is my major criticism. Ash was he was watching the stream too. Ash, so how do you feel?
Yeah, I was watching it. It looked interesting. I would like to I definitely put it on like my Steam wish list.
You downloaded the prologue, you said, so whatever that is.
I've downloaded the prologue. I still haven't played it, but it looks interesting, and the game mechanics look interesting. I can kind of forgive the look because obviously that was one run of missions. That's one mission line where there was several other ones either locked or still to come. So there could be still more, but it looks like a very challenging roguelite kind of card building game in the vein of Slay of Spire, so I'd be keen to check it out down the line.
It's definitely a lot more challenging. I was like, fuck, I don't know if this is a great game to be streaming because I'm like trying to stream, but then I'll be sitting there and then I'm getting into like almost any sort of card game mode where I'm like, okay, so if I play this card over here, then this person probably attacks this person. I do this, or maybe I should play this other card because if I do that, I could, it's just
the amount of joy you would get from the enemies taking each other out.
It was quite fun. Well, there was that one great time where I was completely overthinking it, like which happens sometimes with these sorts of games. Completely overthinking it. Then I suddenly clicked. I was like, wow, no! I simply need to move behind this person. I can then kick them, and then I kicked them into 3 other enemies, and they all fucking shot one another and hit each other. I was like, this is great. I was like, and that's what I guess that's the big plus of the game. Like any of these sorts of, or like a puzzle game or anything, when you do something like that and it clicks and you do something smart and you get to see enemies all fall into your plan or something like that, that was definitely the highlights of the game for sure. So as I said, it is early access, so we'll see what happens as the game goes forward. It literally only just entered early access, so it's fun. I would like to return more to it. I'll play some more of it, see how I go. I'd like to at least beat that first run.
Once again, it seems like one of those games that is ideal for the Switch. It just kind of to play in handheld or on the phone or something, in a more handheld setting just rather than
bigger text.
It's
but it may come to other platforms once it's out of early access and gets a full release. Possibly, I could see, but I don't know how long they plan to be in early access. Maybe a year,